Hello guys, welcome back to the new episode of Road to Redis. In this episode, we will be learning about Redis in hashes. So what are hashes? Let's keep it simple. Hash is a collection of key value pair, just like a dictionary in Python, hash map in Java, or we can say unordered map in C++. Let's explore how we can create a hash in Redis database. So let's directly jump into our Redis CLI and take a look for the basic command to create a hash map in Redis. So let's start creating our first hash in our Redis database. So to create your hash, we need to use a first command which is set. So let's type set in our Redis CLI. So we can see that it requires three arguments. First is key, second is field, and third is value. So the key is the name of our hash map. So let's provide, as we can say, user1. What is a field? Field is a key and a value is a key value pair, a combination of key value pair. So we can store a multiple key value pair in a single hash. So let's say we are storing our user1 information in a hash map. So let's say there are three fields we are storing. First is name, second is age, and third is email. So let's start storing name, and let's pass name Ahmad, and then age, and let's make it 27. Okay, so it's real, I'm 27. And then after the age, we will be passing an email, which is, let's say, ahmad@xyz.com. Okay, so when we will press enter, it will return us integer 3. What is integer 3? So let's press first. I've pressed. So it returns us integer 3. So the integer 3 is that we have stored a 3 key value pair in our hash. So let's take a look how we can retrieve the data from our hash. So there is a second command which we'll be using to retrieve a specific field value is hget. So let's type hget. So hget is asking for you the key, and another argument is field. So the key is the name of our hash, and the field is the field of which the field is of which, like, we can say the value of the field which we are requiring to get to give us output. So hget requires a key of a hash map, so it's a user1. And let's say we need the value of our name, so I will be passing a field as a name, and when I press enter, it will give you the output Ahmad. And we can do similarly for all the fields if we need to see that what fields contain what value in our hash map. Okay, so if we need that, we need to print like all the values in our hash map. So there is a third command which is hget all. It just requires a key. So the key is the name of our hash map. So let's provide a user1. When we press enter, it returns us a whole array of our all the field and value, like name, Ahmad, age, and everything is output on our screen. So this is how we can use our commands using a Redis CLI. So let's jump into our C++ code and see how we can use all the commands using our C++ code. So let's create a new hash in Redis database using a C++ code. So first command we have used in our Redis CLI was set to create a hash. So let's use the same command using a C++ code. So first we need to call a function Redis set, and then there are 4 overloads provided by our Redis++ library. So we will be using the same overload function which requires same types, which have same types of parameter which we have seen already in Redis CLI. So let's use a third overload function which requires key, field, and value. So let's provide the value, the key, which is a hash name, as user2, and let's provide the field name same as we have used in our Redis CLI, and then a value, let's say John, and then duplicate it, and let's make it age 26, and then add email, xyz.com. Okay, so now we will build this code and run this code, and we will verify our value by just checking on our Redis CLI using a h get all, or we can use the same function in our C++ code. But let's take a look first that our value has been inserted in Redis database or not. So let me build this code first, and then I will, okay, the code has been built. Let's run the code and let's jump in our Redis CLI. So let's use hget all, and the key is user2. So we can see that the name is John is there, age 26, email john@xyz.com has been added into our Redis database using a C++ code. So let's use our second command, which is hget, which we have already used in our Redis CLI. So let's, but the Redis hget command returns as an output of the specific field which we pass into that function. To print that value in our C++ terminal, we need to use a cout. So let's use cout and then call the function redis hget, and it requires two arguments. First is key, second is field. So our key is user2, and our field is, let's say, name, and we need to print the value. So we need to call the function dot value, and then let's put a line in. So let's build the code again, and we can see the output of name in our output window. So let's run the code, and we can see there is an output John, which is the desired output we actually want. Okay, so now let's see our third command which we have used in a Redis CLI was hgetAll. Okay, so call the function hgetAll. So we can see it requires a one argument, two argument. First is key and another is output. So the output is like the output which we are getting from the function. So inside the function, if we just go inside this function, we can see that this function is setting up our value in doing some sort of stuff inside the function. So let's not get confused ourselves that what a library is doing inside a function. So let's keep it simple. So we can pass our key is, we can say, user2. So what about the output? So as we know that the output which will be the hash is giving us is a key value pair. So we need to create a unordered map of string and string, because in Redis the hashes key and value both are string types. So we have created an unordered map, and we can say hash data. Now we will be using a function, or we can say a A helper function which is provided by the standard template library is inserter. So inserter requires two arguments. First is the data structure in which, or we can say the container, templatized container in which we need to insert our data. So we are passing our unordered map container, which is hash data, and the another argument is from where we need to enter the data. So we will be start adding the data from the beginning. So we have added, we have called that function in our getAll. Okay, so now we need to see, when we call the function getAll, it will pass the key, and inside the function some magic happens, and it will insert all the data which will return by the getAll command from Redis in our unordered map. So now we want to see that what has been added into an unordered map. To see this, we need to use an std cout. So first we need to iterate over this unordered map, because as we know that it contains three fields. One is name, age, and email. So now we will be iterate over our unordered map using a range for loop. So let's say auto and data and hash data, right? And let's use std cout data, and the first we as we know that it's key, and second is value. So let's do like this first, and then just to make the little bit difference, or we can say little bit space between our values, let's do like this, and then data dot second, right? And then let's put std and l. Okay, so now it will print all the data on our output screen. So let's build our code. The code is building, and now we will be running this code, and we can see on the output screen the name John, age and email has been printed successfully. So this is how we can create hashes in Redis using a Redis CLI and a C++ code. I hope you guys have learned a lot about hashes. Thank you guys for watching my video. Like, share, and subscribe.